Welcome to Spooky News for October 9th, 2020. We are well into spooky season and what has to be the strangest year any of us have seen. Just because we're doing it differently this year doesn't mean we can't bring the spooky to our celebration, though. Before I get into the news, I wanted to remind everyone that all things Spooky Ventures are supposed to be interactive. With that in mind, be sure to like our videos, share our videos, and subscribe to our channel. If you're doing something spooky and would like to do a spooky interview, let us know. If you got something spooky you think we should review, please get in touch. Speaking of reviews, in case you missed it, I reviewed Dan Klefstad's new book, Fiona's Guardians, in a spooky review that was published this Wednesday. Be sure to check it out. With all of that out of the way, it's time to get to the news. The first thing I want to talk about is the changing face of Halloween in the time of COVID. There are numerous examples of events adapting to the new reality, but I wanted to talk a little about just a few examples. The first comes from an area in my own region, northern Illinois. Elgin, Illinois has a Nightmare on Chicago Street event every year, which is a big outdoor costume party for Halloween. My favorite horror host, Sven Gulli, has been the master of ceremonies of the event in the years past. I've wanted to go for a while. This year, though, they've canceled that event. In its place, they've created something called Litde-Park-of-Horrors. So what is Litde-Park-of-Horrors? It's an event that is going to run nightly from 6 to 9, starting on October 22nd and running through November 1st. It's being held at Wing Park. Visitors will drive through various spooky scenes on a half-mile drive. On the weekend, those scenes will be augmented by live actors, so I think you can consider it a drive-through haunted house. Toronto, one of my favorite places in the world, is also hosting a drive-through event. Theirs is being run by a charity, and it's going to be a collection of Halloween-themed light displays. My hometown of Rockford, Illinois always runs a Christmas lights drive-through show, so this sounds like the same kind of thing, but with a Halloween theme. In Calabasas, Florida, an event called Night of the Jack is another example of a drive-through event. The focus of that one, though, is jack-o'-lanterns. From the sounds of it, they will have a huge collection of various jack-o'-lantern displays for visitors to experience. Those three are just a few examples of how communities are coming up with new ways to celebrate spooky season and still keep social distancing in mind. Next, I'd like to revisit something I talked about on a Spooky News months ago, and it's our first UFO reference in quite a while. You might remember that many months ago, an interview with Danica Patrick, who at the time was dating Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, revealed that Rodgers was one of many people who have seen unidentified flying objects. Well, in a recent interview, Rodgers gave more details of his experiences that really make it a spookier encounter. Apparently, it happened quite a while ago, but not only did Rodgers see a UFO, but it was followed by fighter jets that seemed to be in pursuit of that UFO. Now, that detail wasn't mentioned the first time I talked about this story, and gives it a spookier twist. So do you enjoy touring places with spooky history? Well, it turns out that these days you can tour quite a few of such places from the comfort of your home with just an internet connection. A new article that emerged this week has a list of them, but there's one I have talked about before that didn't make their list, the Winchester Mansion. The places that did make the list, though, are well known too. The first location is in Romania. It's Bran Castle. Now that often gets called Dracula's Castle. Supposedly it was an inspiration for Bram Stoker when he was writing Dracula, and Vlad Tepes, the inspiration for the character Dracula, was held prisoner at the castle at one time. It wasn't actually his castle, though. That building is now a ruin that you can visit, but you can get an online tour of Bran Castle, which has its share of spooky stories, too. You can also do a virtual tour of the Lizzie Borden house. She was not convicted of the murder of her father and stepmother, but she or someone else brutally murdered them in that house. There have been all kinds of stories that have emerged over the years of paranormal activity in the home. Now you can get your own tour without having to leave your home. Salem, Massachusetts will always be known for the notorious witch trials. There is even a museum in Salem devoted to that dark period of history. You can tour the Salem Witch Museum virtually. Perhaps even cooler, the site for that tour includes links to a number of other Salem locations that have virtual tours. I know most years the town of Salem welcomes lots of tourists this time of year. They are discouraging that this time around, so it's good that there are still options to allow people to participate in the Salem experience. While the movie of The Shining was filmed elsewhere, Estes, Colorado's Stanley Hotel was the inspiration for the book. The miniseries of The Shining, which I personally prefer to the movie, was actually filmed in the hotel. There are quite a few stories of paranormal activity in this sprawling building, and you can tour it from home now too. The Queen Mary was a cruise ship for years, but now it's a museum. It's also the location of many ghost stories. You can experience the haunted and historic vessel via an online tour. I'll include the URL for the source article at the end of this video, along with all the other sources for the articles. But I'll also include the websites where you can find the tours themselves. Now, I hope I don't botch the pronunciation here, but Gainesville, Florida music artist Azazus has a new spooky music video out. The song is called Reaper, and the video is inspired by Michael Jackson's Thriller, and it's basically a short horror film. Turning our attention to television, are you guys familiar with the website Bloody Disgusting? I know I've used them as a source for news articles quite a bit. Well, now they have launched a free horror streaming channel for Roku users. It's called Bloody Disgusting TV and sounds pretty interesting. I don't have Roku, so I haven't seen it. If you check it out, please drop a comment and let people know what you think of it. Have you heard that Clive Barker's Nightbreed is getting a TV series? The show is still in development, but Godzilla King of the Monsters director Michael Dougherty has been announced for the series. He's also going to be working as writer and executive producer on another Barker series that is in development, Hellraiser. Turning to movies, a new trailer has been released for The Craft Legacy. I know the movie has been called a reboot, but I actually am getting the idea that it's more of a sequel, since apparently Nancy is referenced as a character in the show. There's a photo of her in one clip in the trailer, and I've read that there are scenes of her used as archival footage in the movie. I'm a huge fan of the original, so I'm very interested in seeing this new film. It debuts on streaming platforms on October 28th. That's it for news for this time, but I wanted to mention a couple of important dates. Don't forget, you can find a listing of important dates, at least important by spooky fans, by going to our events calendar. Go to spookyventures.com and scroll to the bottom of the main page to find the link to our calendar. On it, you will see that today, October 9th, is Guillermo del Toro's birthday. You'll also see that tomorrow, October 10th, at 10 a.m. Central Time, there's going to be a live virtual author meet and greet. I'll be one of the authors there, along with Heath D. Alberts, Julie Barthels, and Dan Klefstad, who I reviewed this week. Each author will talk about their works, be available to answer questions, and also read an excerpt from their work. The URL for the event will be included in the source and more information section at the end of this video. I'll be back next week with another spooky news segment. In the meantime, stay healthy, stay safe, and remember to always keep it spooky.
Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.